2002 was a great year. The Winter Olympics were held in my hometown, Salt Lake City, Utah. Halle Berry became the first woman of color to win the Best Actress Oscar. Elon Musk founded SpaceX. But for me, the most important event was Cammie moving to Mr. Fraser's 4th grade class. Cammie was the first girl I wanted to be my girlfriend, even if I didn't know what that involved. I was only 10 years old, so I imagined us writing notes to each other in class. Maybe we could hold hands under our school desks, or maybe, if I was lucky, I might get a kiss at recess. However, I had a bit of a problem. My best friend, Jacob, felt the same way.
She got along with guys a lot better than most girls did, so she was into video games, she was into movies, and so she's a lot easier to talk to than most other girls were. She was also really good at keeping things casual, so it wasn't like super nerve-wracking hanging out with her or talking to her. She was like the first gamer chick, quote unquote, that we'd ever met, and so I think that was a big appeal at that time.
Boys, to me, they were less drama, because it wasn't like, who do you like? Because I think as early as 4th grade, I didn't really care. I just kind of wanted to play.
She was the only girl I knew who understood my obsession with all things Nintendo. It wasn't long until she developed feelings for me. Love was an embarrassing word, so we used like instead. I'm the oldest of 4 children. To my knowledge, my younger siblings went through elementary school without getting themselves into a quasi-relationship. I sought the help of a local 10-year-old to help me know if I was the romantic minority in elementary school. Are you interested in any of that yet?
No.
No? Perfect person to be with. What would they be like?
I don't know.
Are there girls that like you?
I don't know. I just practice basketball.
It was like I was speaking a foreign language.
This was before cell phones were a thing. Like, no one really had cell phones, and so we would pass notes all the time.
To my Olympic Valentine. If skating was aerials, and ski jumping was half pipe, and hockey had a different name. If luge was giant slalom, and skeleton was downhill, I'd love them just the same. Total nonsense. Jacob had enough of the romance Cammie and I had.
I wrote you 2 fake notes, I think. For some reason, we always thought that they would be anonymous, but they never were. It was something along the lines of, I've chosen Jacob and not you. And then I remember you invited me over to your house. I felt terrible, and so I told you about it, and you were furious with me.
I think added on to him liking me was that he was sort of losing his friend too.
That was so annoying. I was just like so manipulative and just, I don't know, attention hungry.
He was more jealous, and then just spending time with someone that you're trying to get rid of. You're either going to be friends with them, or as weird 11-year-olds, you're going to start liking each other.
Once elementary school was over, Cammie and I weren't kept in a room together for 7 hours a day. Shortly after, we decided to just be friends again. The 3 of us stayed close throughout high school and beyond. Cammie and I even went to senior prom together as friends. I couldn't help imagining how excited our elementary school selves would have been. All 3 of us dated several people throughout the next 10 years or so, but we never fell in love for the right reason.
As you're younger, your ideal girlfriend is one that almost raises your status. Cammie was kind of the ideal trophy girlfriend. She was the gamer chick, she was cute, and she was easy to talk to.
I want to be this kind of person. I want to be cooler. I want to, I don't know. I just wanted to be a stereotypical, popular kid, I guess.
It wasn't until we started dating our spouses-to-be that we understood what love was really about.
She was completely different in a lot of ways. But the more we started hanging out, the more I realized that, those things come and go. Those goals can be developed. They can kind of become goals together. You don't need to start off with the same goals. You just need to realize that you want the same thing in life.
I think I've gotten more back to how I was as a kid. I've definitely gone back to that weird middle part child who didn't do her hair or makeup, and it's just awkward. It's awesome.
We're quick to label past relationships as meaningless, stupid, or just a joke. I think that's a sad way to look at things. Each time we fall in love, we learn something about ourselves. Each time our heart is broken, we learn a valuable lesson. Cammie and I used the word like in elementary school, but what I felt was love. Is that love comparable to the love I feel for my wife and daughter? Of course not. Love guided by the naivete of a 10-year-old might not be considered real love by adult standards, but it was real to me, and that's all that matters.
That morning sky gave me a look, so I left while you were sleeping. That's all it took. And I chalked a line south down the coast, going where my thirst was open for the things that I don't know, going where I wasn't paying for the hurt that I owe. One half moon sleeping by the creeks, and a woman put me under a barn roof for a week. I knew her voice before she spake. I saw a grave dug by a preacher just to see what it would make. So hold high, have faith, your reason. Don't you forget you come from nothing. That wind is calling my name. I won't will, or I'll never get on.
Baby, put the bottle down. You don't need another one. No, you don't need another one. Girl, you don't need another one. Why you taking all those pills? Don't you know that they will kill you? Don't you know that we all need you? Don't you know I need you still?
I barely knew you back then, but man, the things I remember is all in my mind. Tears on my face as I'm writing these lines. To imagine a place if I asked, are you fine? Didn't care, never talked, wasn't there, never called. Day you were gone, only thing I recall. Saw your girl's face, no makeup, no smile, no feelings, no heart. She felt nothing at all. Like, what could I say? How could I possibly say it's okay? How could I not feel this anger inside me? I look at her now and you made her this way. When you drank all them pills, yeah, I killed her. Since then, man, I haven't seen the real her. Screaming in a pillow, could you tell me, did you hear her? Even when she smiles, can you see that it still hurts? They might say that it's wrong to be bitter, but the more that she drank, the more she got sicker. No better, she killing her liver. You thought she'd be better, but it's getting worse. Hollow like bottle she's holding. She trying to sleep, but can't sleep till the morning. Every day is another performance. These pictures and memories, what she been holding. She blaming herself for the reason you left. You took every pill, but she feels the effects. Family's in pieces, your friends are a mess. You left all your pain and you gave it to them. What'd you think that would happen? Thought it'd be easy, like she would move on. Hang out with her friends like nothing is wrong. They try to be strong, but the moment you left, she was already gone.
Baby, put the bottle down. I can hear you drowning now. I can hear you crying now. In your silence, I can hear you loud. Why you taking all these pills? Don't you know that they can kill you? Don't you know that you can heal? Don't you know we need you still?
Forgive me for my honesty. It's a blessing and a curse. It's a medicine that hurts. It's the only thing that works. Who could understand the things that you went through? It hurts cause I'll never even get to look you in the eyes like, brother, yeah, I get you. To even shake your hand and say, don't let the stress get you. But you left scars that are here to stay. So many stars used for you to stay. So much pain that I see even to this day. They think of you when it starts to rain. Didn't know you, it's affecting me. What if it was someone close to me? Like what if I was you and no one noticed me? Spending time alone, yeah, I wonder who would wanna go broke with me. To the girl still crying on her sheets. No, you don't feel like it, but you gotta eat. I know you think you need to, but you don't gotta drink. Water's coming in, but you don't gotta sink. I know it's hard to breathe, you just need to want to. Anything you need, baby girl, I got you. Tell me what it is, tell me what you feel. Tell me you're alive, anything can heal. Maybe I don't understand, understand, guess I never will. But if you're feeling broken now, I promise you can heal. Promise you can make it out, you don't gotta be scared. If you're feeling numb, yeah, I promise I'ma be there. You don't gotta figure it out, I need you to feel. Sometimes the ones that love us end up leaving us still. You don't need another bottle, you don't need another pill. You don't gotta smile, but we all need you still.
Baby, put the bottle down. I can hear you drowning now. I can hear you crying now. In your silence, I can hear you loud. Why you taking all these pills? Don't you know that they can kill you? Don't you know that you can heal? Don't you know we need you still?
I need you. I need you. Yeah.
I need you.
Look at the music we listen to. Bottles and bottles, you give me another one. Killing ourselves and we're killing each other. The phrase that I'm hearing is having fun. Numbing our feelings so we can feel something. How does that make any sense? They tell me relax, have a great time. I see kids who don't know they're depressed. They followed it up, now they're shooting it out. Hitting students all over their chest and they wonder like what was the reason? He was just fine, saw him last night and he had a good time. Wasn't depressed, he was out of his mind. Who would've known he was out of it? Guess it was only a matter of time. There's more to perceive what you see in your eyes. Look at the time that we live in our lives. No emotions, I see him concealing it. Instead of dealing with problems, they hand you a drink like forget it, you don't gotta deal with it. That's the world that we live in, I'm sick of it. Want no part of the world that I'm living in. If we cared just a little bit, felt just a little bit, things would have been a bit different.
Train!
Matt! It's an abandoned railroad. There's no train!
Brad! Brad, come on! Dude, come on! The train is right there! We gotta go, man! Let's go! Come on!
There's no train, Matt! What are you doing? Matt, where are you running? You think you're like Forrest Gump or something? You're such a dumbass. What the hell, man? Come back! Man, we gotta go! We're gonna be late for Andres' class. He's gonna be so pissed. We're always so late, and all you do... Ah!
My name is Shelley Duncan. Shortly after my 44th birthday, I was diagnosed with stage 3B colon cancer. It's not in the family. I really didn't have any symptoms until just before I was diagnosed, but I chose early on to be positive. There are thoughts, our attitude, the things that we think about ourselves are more toxic. When I was younger, I was really into art and I was really good at it. And then, life happens and you stop doing what your hobbies or what interests that you have. But after my heart was punctured, I decided to start doing something that would give me pleasure. So I started to paint. My coworkers at the time, when I was re-diagnosed with the cancer in my lungs, they encouraged me to have an art show. So we put an art show together, and we actually had like a printer that donated printings where he would put stuff on mouse pads and coffee cups, and I think I had about 50 paintings. And every one of them sold.
I really love the colors. And this was the painting that was in her Eccles art show. She was accepted her first try to get in, which is not usually done.
So I had seen on a Facebook advertisement this exact painting was done on a full-size palette, but I didn't want it that big. So we found this at a craft store, and she recreated this entire picture that they wanted $500 for it, and it was done on a big palette. And she did it in one night, and she wanted to do it Shelley style, which means giving it bigger breasts.
That ballerina was kind of what I was feeling emotionally that day. She's disheveled and her hair's not pretty like all the other ballerinas. She's on the sidelines, you know, kind of in the dark side of the stage, you know, while the other ballerinas are out dancing and their hair pretty. And I wanted to dance, I wanted to be there, but I couldn't dance. I was drawn to ballerinas just because, you know, it kind of represents to me like a little girl's hopes and dreams and fears and fantasies. What's the one thing I would have regretted if I died? I'd be like on the other side going, why didn't I? So I wrote him a letter.
I was very happy to hear from her, and then her news was that she was sick. And then as we started to communicate, I learned that she was very, very sick, and her sisters had taken her on her bucket list. She went to New York, all over, and did amazing and fun things. And at the bottom of the list was me. I'm a lucky man. I am very, very lucky.
Once the cancer spread to my lungs, I'm terminal, it's stage 4. So I will always be on chemo until I decide not to.
Because that's where they were biopsying and proved that, but that went into remission and remains in remission.
That's awesome.
And look how clean.
Look at those clean cuts. Oh, the chemo's keeping it at least stable, and that's, you know, stage 4 terminal. That's as much as you can hope for, is it's stabilized. Usually the next pathway for it would be my brain. So, you know, they do MRIs and brain scans, you know, periodically just to make sure that it's not spread to my brain, because that would be its next. You know, with colon cancer, it goes from your colon to your liver to your lungs to your brain. So
I'm grateful to be her dad and to see all of the patience and love that she has for others. When I came down to see her, I really loved this painting, and she gave it to me.
it's something that I can do that's a part of me, that reflects the beauty in the world and the positive and the hope. Someone looking at my art can feel that. You know, I don't have any children, so it's a piece of me that when I'm gone, I can leave to my loved ones and to hopefully carry it down generations, and a part of me will be with the people that I love and that love me.
I'm taking on a journey to a world beyond my own. Let me paint you a picture of what I feel inside, so you can see where love and midnight sky.
Labels are a primitive way for humankind to make sense of what they don't know. And so never tie yourself to a label. The only label that you should ever tie yourself to is your name. Like, hi, I am Brayden.
Hello, my name is Skylar Hudson. I grew up all over the Wasatch Front, but the majority of my childhood I spent in Bountiful, Utah.
I did grow up Mormon. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. You never really know anything different when you are born and raised into a certain faith.
Hello, my name is Jarek Lewis. I grew up in southern Utah in a small town called Enoch. Growing up as Mormon as a kid, I mean, that's all I knew.
My name is Kellen Fowers. I grew up in Napa Valley, California. Yes, I grew up Mormon. I grew up LDS. Growing up in California, it's probably unlike Utah, where I did not have a lot of neighbors that were LDS. In fact, no one in my neighborhood was. I think probably the thing that I loved most about growing up Mormon were the standards with which I was raised.
Being a Mormon kid in Utah was pretty great, I guess. I mean, you're able to connect with a lot of people in your neighborhood and kids your age in ways other than just school.
So I served a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in the Seoul, Korea mission. I chose to serve a mission because it was something I wanted to do. It was something I genuinely had a testimony for, and it's something that I truly believed. I didn't feel like it was forced. I filled out my papers myself. I know there's a lot of people that their parents will submit their mission papers for them because they're not sure what they want to do or if they even want to serve, and that was not where I was at. I actually submitted them 6 months to the day before I turned 19.
Well, I didn't really decide to serve a mission. It was more my dad did everything for me, and I'm just so laid back that I ended up going. In New York City, I spoke Spanish, but I'm glad I did because I really enjoyed it. It was really fun. It was a really good experience. I am glad that I got to do that.
The Republic of China, and I loved my mission. Yeah, it was a incredible experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
So for me, I don't believe that it was ever a specific moment in time that I realized that I was gay. I think that it was more through a series of experiences that I developed, or that I endured, I guess, is a better way of saying it.
So I think I was probably starting to realize that I was gay when I was 12, around the age of 12. I did not admit it to myself until after I was 21.
So I didn't really get to come out. When I first moved out of my house right after high school, I was living with my older brother and his boyfriend at the time. My brother's also gay. And he told my dad that I was pansexual and that I was dating boys. And so I didn't get to do that, really.
Since I was little, I knew I was different. I never really liked girls. Through high school and everything, I never dated. I mean, I take girls to prom to try and keep up the image of, so people didn't assume or think that I was gay because I wasn't doing anything with girls. I'd say probably around 12 was when I realized it, but even then I didn't really accept it. It wasn't until probably 18, when I was 18 years old, that I finally accepted that I was gay.
About 3 years ago now, my father and I had a conversation wherein he identified, or he came out to me that he is gay. So I had a lot of resentment that had built up and a lot of kind of hurt feelings because of my father and the fact that when I was 13 he walked out of my life. And so essentially what I started to evaluate were the feelings that I endured and experienced as a child.
So it was really hard for me to realize I was gay. So at the time I identified as pansexual, and I didn't want to remove that label because I was so scared of being labeled gay. And I had attached myself to that as a safety net that's well, I still can like girls, so my family still has hope and things like that. But I told her, I was I don't want to date girls, I don't want to marry girls, I want to be with a man, so am I just gay? And then a couple months later I finally was you know what, I think I am gay. And I told a couple of my close friends, and I was let's use that as my label, and let me just see how it feels. And it's right. I mean, I'm gay. And so from there, it's just been easier just to live life authentically.
Choosing to have a relationship with a woman or a man didn't impact what I knew I wanted in my life. I still would love to be married, to have a family. I want to have 2 kids. I do not want to live in Utah.
A stable job, a good income, kids, married, of course.
I want to get married, I want to have a husband, and I want to have kids, and I want to have a house, dog, probably more than one dog.
A family built on the marriage of a man and woman supplies the best setting for God's plan to thrive.
the setting for the birth of children who come in purity and innocence from God, and the environment for the learning and preparation they'll need for a successful mortal life.
Stay grounded with who you are. Take a deep breath and realize that you are valuable and that you are loved and that there's nothing wrong with you.
I think the best advice that I could give to like a youth that is both gay and Mormon is to not be afraid of who they are. Like, just live your own truth, I guess. Like, find those that are able to support you and to love you for who you are regardless of what that means. Something that the church always talks about is unconditional love and a Christ-like love. And I feel like that goes as far as long as you're willing to uphold their standards.
That's probably the thing I regret most, was that I didn't come out sooner, because I didn't realize how much of an impact I could have on other people.
No one should be hated just because they're different. And I think learning to accept those individuals for who they are, regardless of what that means, is probably more so the Christ-like thing to do.
Have that conversation with your parents. It's gonna be painful, and the sooner you do it, the faster they can heal, and you can heal, and you guys can all work together to be better.
I think for me in my life right now, I've never had a group of gay friends, and that's something that very recently in the last several months I've developed and become encircled by. And I am really proud of the fact that I've been able to find people that truly love me for me and are able to be there for me and support me regardless of where I'm at in life and the struggles and hardships I'm experiencing or enduring. It's really important to have people like that around you, whether it's mentors or people that are older or people that are in your same stage of life, or even people that are younger that can look up to you and you kind of build each other up and grow stronger together. I think being Mormon and being gay, a lot of times it means giving up a lot of what your family life at one point looked like when they have a hard time accepting who you are. And I think learning that family doesn't have to mean one thing, but you can find family in those around you and your friend groups is really important.
Looked in places to find the same old faces of time. The clock ticks backwards, it seems. I'm losing my mind. Every Valentine's Day is mine, oh mine. What am I to do with my life? And if 25 years has passed me by, I'm all out of tears and I have nothing to write about. It's raining confetti hearts in my room. I've had enough of those chocolate doves and cheap perfume. Won't fall in love, but I feel more like a woman should. People think love should be deep, but it's about who you are and the company you keep will bring you life's brightest stars. So this Valentine's Day will be all mine. I'm gonna buy me some roses and have a good time. I'll have some ice cream and lounge in my robe. I've got nowhere to go, so I'll just unwind. It's raining confetti might think it's stupid that the other day Cupid was pointing an arrow at me. He says when one door closes, a window will open again and again and again and again. So every Valentine's Day will be all mine. I'm gonna kick off my shoes and have a good time. I'll dance in the city and act like a fool. My heart is so open, I don't know what to do. It's raining confetti hearts in my room, about enough of those. Chocolate dust and cheap perfume won't fall in love, but I feel more like a woman should. It's raining confetti hearts in my room. Why won't he be mine? The timing's off, it's still too soon.
If there were 99 bottles of rhymes on the wall, and one of those rhymes should happen to fall, it would bounce like this. An ounce of this is too much to waste. The taste is what you get just a touch. If there were 99 bottles of rhymes on the wall, and one of those rhymes should happen to fall, it would bounce like this. An ounce of this is too much to waste. The taste is what you get just a touch. If there were 99 bottles of rhymes on the wall, and one of those rhymes should happen to fall, it would bounce like this. An ounce of this is too much to waste. The taste is what you get just a touch. If there were 99 bottles of rhymes on the wall, and one of those rhymes should happen to fall, it would bounce like this. An ounce of this is too much to waste. The taste is what you get just a touch. If there were 99 bottles of rhymes on the wall, and one of those rhymes should happen to fall, it would bounce like this. An ounce of this is too much to waste. The taste is what you get just a touch. If there were 99 bottles of rhymes on the wall, and one of those rhymes should happen to fall, it would bounce like this. If there were 99 bottles of rhymes on the wall, and one of those rhymes should happen to fall, it would bounce like this. An ounce of this is too much to waste. The taste is what you get just a touch. If there were 99 bottles of rhymes on the wall, and one of those rhymes should happen to fall, it would bounce like this. An ounce of this is too much to waste. The taste is what you get just a touch. If there were 99 bottles of rhymes on the wall, and one of those rhymes should happen to fall, it would bounce like this. An ounce of this is too much to waste. The taste is what you get just a touch. If there were 99 bottles of rhymes on the wall, and one of those rhymes should happen to fall, it would bounce like this. An ounce of this is too much to waste. The taste is what you get just a touch. If there were 99 bottles of rhymes on the wall, and one of those rhymes should happen to fall, it would bounce like this. An ounce of this is too much to waste. The taste is what you get just a touch. If there were 99 bottles of rhymes on the wall, and one of those rhymes should happen to fall, it would bounce like this.
My name is Sarah, and I grew up in a polygamous cult. I was born at home in a single-wide trailer.
A lot of them, they care so much about the hereafter that they were willing to sacrifice anything here.
So they believe that they've traced their blood all the way back to Jesus, and that their bloodline is pure. There's a lot of inbreeding. They've had some babies born with deformities. They've buried some and not reported their births.
It seems to me, from my research, that the closer held and more secret the group is, meaning that there's a lot more intermarriages, then of course there are more babies that are born that have defects, birth defects. And so, the more open groups, I haven't seen as many, and I haven't seen as much evidence of those births being undocumented as I have in some of the more closely held and more secretive groups.
So as far as keeping the bloodline pure, the group that I experienced, I think that they were more interested in the opposite. They saw some of the dangers associated with having people being too closely married. There is a genetic disease that's very common in Short Creek, and it's something like 3/4 of the world's population that has this genetic disease lives in northern Arizona. And so I think that they see the consequences of that. When we're totally isolated and we're all just kind of marrying each other, it produces a lot of problems.
Growing up in the order, we knew that it was our responsibility to keep the order a secret from the outside world. We're encouraged to only have friends in the group, not on the outside. To be polite to outsiders, we were taught they were beneath us.
As a professional, I see that organizations and family systems like that are very closed to outside influence of the world. They tend to be look at the world as a hostile place, and they look at outside influences of being a threat.
Because it's so secretive, and because the families really believe that they're doing what God wants, it's something that's very difficult to monitor.
So relationships with people of different colors was frowned upon. People there, if they had to shake the hand of somebody of color, you would see them as soon as they could wash their hands, scrub them. They would make comments about it. They would make a lot of jokes. They used the N-word all the time.
I can tell you that many of them were taught racism. They were taught that different races were not as elite. They were taught that that African Americans should not have the priesthood, and that was a big mistake that the Mormon Church had made. A lot of them did just have an elitist mentality, like they were the chosen ones and the children of God, and that eventually the whole world would be destroyed. They'd be lifted up, and the world would be destroyed, and then they would be placed back down. That was one of Warren Jeff's big beliefs, and that he touted quite often.
So polygamous organizations, in my experience, have been that there's it's a very hierarchical and patriarchal. The bulk of the child rearing takes place with the children and their mothers, more so than with their fathers, and the fathers tend to be more aloof.
Within the home, there's a hierarchy where the father is treated as kind of the manager of the home and is the presiding authority, and then the wives occupy kind of a middle management position where they manage the day-to-day operations of the home.
A good woman would be a woman that is submissive to her husband. She is in tune with her husband. She knows what he wants. She doesn't ask questions. If your husband says it's this way, then that's the way it is. You just need to accept it. You really need to not have an opinion that isn't agreeable with your husband's if you want to be safe and happy.
It's amazing to me the patriarchal force behind so many of these groups, and how it's been used to control people like minions in many ways,
A submission is huge importance, and that's why they start from the time you're born. A baby, even a few months old, If they tell the baby not to cry and the baby cries, the baby will be slapped. It just goes from there. They're taught from so little that they need to be submissive, and what their father or the man over their family says is what God is saying. They need to take it as if God said it himself.
Oftentimes I found that they would sacrifice personal principles and ideals for what someone else deemed to be the most important things that they should do to sacrifice. That they often sacrificed family, they sacrificed love, they sacrificed their own income. Sometimes they sacrificed health and well-being, sacrificed sometimes the most important things in their lives just to please the prophet and just to please, their God.
A child my daughter's age in the group is being emotionally isolated, being prepped to be married, to serve a husband. And if I was in the group, I would be watching my daughter be prepped to marry, and probably her uncles trying to marry her. When I was a preteen and teenager, knowing that what the future held, that my future was to marry one of these Kingstons, who I had seen a majority of them were abusive. Every day at night when I went to bed, I would pray that somehow I would die, whether it be a car accident or just get sick and die, anything, or at least marry somebody who was less abusive than what my sisters had. So when I got married, I was 16 years old. I was older than all of my sisters. They were all married 14, 15, or barely 16.
The fact of the matter is we still have young girls whose parents are faithful to, that particular faith, and we still have young girls disappearing. We still have underage marriages happening. We still have these girls being used as leverage. And that to me is still the most shocking, that this can be allowed to happen.
We had seen on the news that somebody from a polygamous cult had been beaten and left to die. It was a friend of mine, and we talked to different leaders and family members and people in the group, and they said her boyfriend did it. It wasn't her father. They're just framing him. That's not how it really happened. I knew this girl. She was an honest girl. She didn't want to be married. She cried on her wedding day. She didn't want to marry her uncle. She was forced to marry. I was there. The same man that beat this girl has taken kids out in a field and put a gun to their head. I know of numerous children and multiple wives that he's beaten. I know he's molested some of his sons. That started to open my eyes and realize if this is what God wants us to be part of, I would rather go to hell than this, because this isn't a heaven that I want. From a young age, we're taught that if you ever leave the group, you will go to hell, you will be disowned, not only in this life, but always.
One of the problems I've discovered with polygamous survivors would be just feeling socially marginalized. Socially marginalized means they don't feel like they belong in either group. They don't belong in the polygamist organization anymore. They're now a persona non grata, and nor do they feel fully integrated into the dominant culture either, so they tend to be very socially marginalized, and that's a big problem, particularly for the youth.
Everything that their entire lives are based on, all this entire foundation, and when they get out, it's like, or kicked out, or feel like they have to leave, they feel like who they are and what they know has been completely and totally stripped away from them.
When we left the group, I struggled a lot with anxiety and depression. I still struggled with the will to keep going. There was one day my husband came home and I had his gun out, and I was just done. I didn't want to do it anymore. It was too hard to just be us. I struggled on how to socialize with people, how to make a friend, how to trust people.
On my professional experience as a practitioner, I've had several individuals, adult females and young adult males, that have stated suicidal thoughts.
Oftentimes they don't know how to function in the outside world, and so they'll do anything that they can to escape the pain. So there has been quite a bit of suicide that I know of, and quite a bit of drug and alcohol use, and also women getting involved in domestic violence relationships because they've never learned how to have boundaries, to say no, to be treated in any other manner. And so they often will get caught up in that. And we also know of young girls that have ended up in human trafficking and prostitution.
I feel like there's tremendous amounts of welfare abuse. Most of the kids' birth certificates where there are multiple spouse, they don't list their true father. A lot of times they'll just make up a name. Without the father, they don't have to count the father's income, and these mothers are making very little. And a lot of them do live on welfare. Some of these mothers need it because their husbands aren't supporting them. But I know in the past they have brought charges. Some of them have gone to jail for welfare abuse. So some people think it doesn't happen anymore because they were charged in the past, but it still happens.
One woman that was very forthcoming with me, she said, yeah, I've been on food stamps and to, help make ends meet, and I would be thrilled if they would make it so that I could be openly married to my husband. According to the rules of the government, I'm a single mother with a lot of kids because I'm a second wife. And so, unless they want to change that and make it so that I'm not a single mother, I don't see a problem with it.
Some of them even believed in bleeding the beast, which meant that they were supposed to do everything they could to bring the U.S. government down, and that means committing fraud would definitely be within that.
So in the group, they don't use a typical bank. They have their own bank that money goes into. I do know some of the women, they're not given enough allotted money each month to even feed their kids, regardless of what they earn, and most of them don't earn minimum wage. The majority of them do live with less and in poverty. Well, there's the few leaders that get to live better off. But if you ask a group member, they will tell you, Heavenly Father wants me to live with less.
So just like a caste system where, certain families had all the privileges, all the money, there would be the lower and lower and lower caste systems where the best jobs were not available. They weren't allowed to have as many wives. They weren't looked at as quite as holy, so not as deserving as other things. And there's some pretty intense levels of poverty within some of the families.
So it's the law of one above another. That's what they call it. When they receive the priesthood, they receive a number. Ortel Kingston is Paul Kingston's father. He was number 8. And then their wives receive a number, 8.1. The next wife would be 8.2. And if they have a lower number than you, they're technically above you. They're closer to God than you. You need to do what they say and be submissive to them. By all definition, if you look up definition of a mafia, the order fits the definition. When you think about it, Elizabeth Smart, she was taken and brainwashed for just that small amount of time. My family, my friends, everybody that I grew up with has been taken and brainwashed from the day they were born by the people that are supposed to protect them. Most of them will never know true happiness. People ask me if I miss my sisters and my family, and the hardest thing for them to understand is that I miss who they were, but who they were is gone. When you look into their eyes, they're empty. When you look at somebody who's been abused their whole life and you look in their eyes, they're just empty inside. The sisters and brothers that I knew, they're gone. They're not there anymore. So yes, I miss them, but I don't miss the people they've become. My heart breaks for them, but there's nothing I can do for them unless they choose freedom for themselves. If I could see my sisters and talk to them, I just think I would tell them there's so much more. There's so much out there that you don't know. What they're telling you is not true. There is joy and happiness, and Heavenly Father's not going to condemn you to hell if you leave. It's okay to be happy with yourself.